History tells us Göbekli Tepe was abandoned. That time buried it, that people simply walked away. But the ground tells a different story. This site was not left behind, it was systematically erased. Every pillar was still standing, every carving was intact, nothing was broken, nothing collapsed. Instead, thousands of tons of soil were deliberately carried in and poured over the entire complex. Stone by stone, layer by layer. 12,000 years ago, humans who supposedly lived in survival mode organized one of the largest construction projects in prehistoric history. Not to build, but to hide. And when you bury something this carefully, you're not trying to destroy it. You're trying to make sure no one ever finds it. The question is simple. What knowledge was so dangerous that the world's oldest temple had to be erased from human memory? And who decided that future humanity wasn't ready to see it? Göbekli Tepe is officially dated to around 9600 BCE. That alone breaks history. At that time, humans were not supposed to build monuments. They had no farming, no cities, no written language. Yet here stands a complex made of massive T-shaped pillars, some weighing over 20 tons each. But the real mystery is not how it was built, it's how it was buried. Archaeologists found no signs of collapse, no earthquakes, no natural landslides. Instead, the soil used to cover the site was brought from outside, carefully selected, packed with animal bones, tools, and debris. This wasn't erosion, it was human labor on a massive scale. Before we go further, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, because no one else can give you research-driven videos like ours. We don't repeat theories. We follow physical evidence, and the evidence shows something disturbing. Whoever buried Göbekli Tepe understood exactly what they were sealing away, and they did it with purpose. To understand the burial of Göbekli Tepe, you need to understand the scale. This is not a small ritual site. It spans more than 20 acres. Each enclosure is built from limestone pillars taller than a human and heavier than modern trucks. To bury just one circle, thousands of baskets of soil had to be carried by hand. No wheels, no beasts of burden, no metal tools. Now multiply that by the entire complex. This wasn't a chaotic dump of dirt. The fill was layered, organized, even compacted to prevent collapse. That means leadership, planning, time. A society advanced enough to coordinate hundreds of people over weeks or months. And they weren't building shelter. They weren't storing food. They were erasing something, which raises an uncomfortable thought. If these people could organize a project this complex, what else were they capable of that history refuses to acknowledge? The pillars of Göbekli Tepe are not blank stones. They are covered in carvings, sharp, intentional, too precise to be decorative. You see animals that never lived together, snakes wrapped around pillars, foxes frozen mid-movement, vultures hovering without wings. There are no plants, no farming scenes, no daily life, only symbols. Many researchers believe these figures were not meant to be read literally, but interpreted. Some align with seasonal star patterns, others repeat across multiple enclosures, as if following a coded system. And at the center of each circle stand two taller pillars. They are faceless, armless, but clearly human-shaped, almost like watchers. If this site stored symbolic knowledge, astronomical, ritual, or cosmological, then burying it wasn't vandalism. It was censorship. Because once knowledge exists, you don't destroy it. You hide it until the world is no longer dangerous enough to misuse it. Here's the detail that quietly breaks the entire story. Göbekli Tepe was buried at the exact moment human society was changing. Right when agriculture was emerging, right before permanent settlements spread, right before humans stopped being nomads. This place wasn't erased at random. It was sealed at a turning point in history, which is backwards. Civilizations don't usually abandon their most important sacred sites. When they're becoming more advanced, they expand them, they rebuild them, they protect them. But Göbekli Tepe was closed forever. Almost like someone decided this knowledge belonged to the old world, and the new world, the farming world, the city world, the hierarchical world, was not meant to inherit it. That suggests a split. Two ways of living, two belief systems, two visions for humanity. One of them lost, and the losing side didn't fight with weapons. They buried their truth and walked away. If Göbekli Tepe was buried out of fear, there should be evidence of chaos. There isn't. No burn marks, no weapons, no mass graves. The pillars were not damaged. The carvings were not defaced. Nothing shows panic or attack. In fact, the site was still being used right before it was sealed. Ritual debris was found inside the fill, animal bones, stone tools, daily objects, which means people gathered here, performed their final acts, and then calmly buried everything. This wasn't an emergency, it was a decision. And decisions like this come from ideology, not danger. Someone believed the site had completed its purpose. Or worse, that continuing to use it would cause harm. That implies knowledge with consequences. Knowledge powerful enough that the safest option was to hide it from future generations. And once you accept that idea, history becomes very uncomfortable because it means ancient humans understood something we still don't. Some archaeologists say this quietly, off the record. Göbekli Tepe proves something dangerous. It shows that large-scale belief systems existed before agriculture, before property, before kings and classes, which flips the accepted model upside down. History teaches that farming created cities, and cities created religion. But Göbekli Tepe suggests the opposite. Belief came first, ritual came first, shared meaning came first. And those beliefs were powerful enough to mobilize thousands of people without force or hierarchy. That kind of society doesn't need rulers. It doesn't need ownership. And that idea is deeply threatening to later civilizations built on control and structure. So imagine this, a new way of living emerges, farming, land, power, and the old system, symbolic, ritual-based, decentralized, can't coexist with it. Instead of rewriting it, they erase it. Not violently, quietly, by burying the evidence that another path ever existed. Here's the detail most people never hear. Less than 5% of Göbekli Tepe has been excavated. That means almost everything is still underground. Sealed, untouched, exactly as it was left 12,000 years ago. Ground-penetrating scans suggest more circles, more pillars, possibly deeper structures, which raises a terrifying thought. The sections we've seen might not be the most important ones. They could be the outer layer, the public face. The real purpose of the site could still be buried deeper. And archaeologists are moving slowly, not because they lack tools, but because once it's uncovered, history can't be put back. When you unseal something hidden this deliberately, you don't just find stones, you challenge narratives. And some truths, once exposed, don't politely fit into textbooks. Destruction leaves chaos, burial leaves order. Göbekli Tepe wasn't smashed, it wasn't looted, it wasn't abandoned mid-use. It was preserved. The pillars were protected by soil, the carvings were sealed from erosion, the entire site was frozen in time. That's not something you do when you're afraid of enemies. That's something you do when you're thinking about the future. Almost like a time capsule, a deliberate pause in human history, as if the builders were saying, this knowledge matters, but not for this world, not for this era. They didn't trust what humanity was becoming, so they hid what humanity once was, which means Göbekli Tepe isn't a ruin. It's a warning. And warnings are meant to be rediscovered when it's almost too late. Göbekli Tepe was meant to disappear. Its builders succeeded for 12,000 years. No stories, no records, no memory, just silence. But silence doesn't last forever. What they buried survived every empire, every religion, every rewritten history. And now it's coming back. Not as a monument, but as a question. If the oldest temple on Earth was hidden on purpose, what kind of society built it? What did they understand that later civilizations forgot? And most importantly, if they believed humanity wasn't ready back then, are we ready now? Or are we about to uncover a truth that history tried very hard to protect us from?